Now we begin, and I must speak to you as those who have already proven your sincerity by your weariness. You have tried to police the mind. You have set watches on the ramparts day and night, and still you have found that when one argument is silenced, another rises. When one sentence is polished, a darker whisper comes from the side door. I know, and I must say to you, do not deceive yourself with the notion that a little more willpower will solve this. You have done the willpower. You have been valiant. And yet you are tired. Tired in a way that feels like warfare without cease. Good. That honesty is our doorway. I would not take one step with a student who still believes that battle is holiness. No. Put up thy sword. What is this hidden confession behind your effort to control thought? Listen underneath the labor and you will hear it. I believe thought has power. I believe it can govern me, harm me, predict me, condemn me. Therefore I must fight it. That is the creed of mind management. It is not a creed of strength, it is the creed of fear. And fear, once enthroned as governor, knows only war. If you are correcting, suppressing, arguing, revising, you have already anointed fear as ruler, and the thoughts, innocent, empty appearances, have been handed a scepter they never possessed. Do you see? The very attempt to control thought is the loudest form of fear. It is panic dressed as discipline. Now then, I must set our aim with clarity so there is no confusion. We are not engaged here in positive thinking. We are not moving furniture in a haunted house. We are not going to analyze your history or suppress your symptoms. Our work is an actual stillness by which government shifts, from the personal thinker to the inner presence that is I. Be still and know I am God. You cannot use it as a trick. You cannot paste it on the mouth of fear as a gag. You must let it descend within you as authority. And for that, we will lay down arms. We will not improve thought. We will withdraw belief from its imagined power and come to rest. I must ask you not to hurry this, not to dabble. Do not pass this on as a clever technique to anyone until you have proved it in your own consciousness, not less than months of steady application. If this instruction gets into the wrong hands, into those who wish to wield it as leverage over life, it would be better the instruction had never been given. I speak as one responsible for you. At first, you may not enjoy this non-aggression. You may not even approve of it. Good. Continue. Be willing to be thought foolish by your own habits. Be willing to sit without contest. Be still and know I am God. So our diagnosis is simple and searching. You have been fighting shadows because you secretly fear they are substance. The cure begins not by winning against shadows, but by refusing them your belief. We will practice that refusal by stillness. We will reassign government from thought to the presence. And if you will accept the seriousness of this call, if you will put up thy sword and take your seat in quiet, you will find the war dissolving into the silence that governs. Be still. Be still and know. Be still and know I am God. Now then, I must require a very simple, very daring assumption for the purpose of this work, and I can only proceed with those who will take it. For this meditation, for this life, you must assume there are two of you. There is I, my real self, the life, the awareness, the presence. And there is me, call it by your given name, the one who thinks, who plans, who worries, who has been carrying the clipboard and running the classroom after hours. If you do not make this distinction and maintain it long enough for it to become realization, you will keep returning to war, because the thinker will keep trying to fix the thinker. Be still and know I am God. Now watch this with me. Who is it that notices the thought arise? Who is it that says, I must stop this? Who is it that becomes alarmed when a dark phrase or an odd picture passes by? Is it not awareness itself that sees the movie on the screen? Can the screen be burned by the picture of fire? Can the space of the room be damaged by the words spoken within it? No. The I that is aware is not endangered by what appears in awareness. The only danger is the mistake of living as the picture, as the chatter, as the little manager who believes he must keep the universe from falling apart by holding his breath. Put up thy sword. The practical point is this. The personal mind is not an enemy to be crushed. It is an instrument to be quieted and placed in order, like a student who has been permitted to teach the class. The student is not evil, he is out of place. When you attempt to control thought, you leave the teacher's chair and wrestle with the pupil on the floor. That is why you are exhausted. That is why every technique of suppression breeds another technique, and every new technique secretly crowns fear again. But when you take your seat as I, quiet, aware, not arguing, you restore government. Be still and know I am God. Do not turn this into an affirmation. Do not chant, I am, as the thinker to secure a better day. This is not cosmetics. This is relocation. I, here, now, am aware. I am present. I am the witness of thought, the life of the body, the silence in which all sounds come and go. Rest there, not as a posture you hold with effort, but as a fact you consent to. If you fall back into the thinker, notice it as you would a child standing up on the chair. Gently, without scolding, place it back in its seat. The first obedience is simply not to let the student run the room. And so your relief begins here. Not by winning an argument with a sentence in your head, but by ceasing to live as the head that argues. Let me say it plainly. The thinker cannot govern because it is a thought about me. Only I governs because I am. Return to that. Return and return again until the returning becomes your dwelling. Be still and know I am God. Now then, having made the distinction, let us expose the great mistake that keeps you circling. The moment you make thought the battlefield, fear has already been crowned as ruler. Do you see? The field is chosen by the enemy, and the weapons are fear's own. When the picture flashes, an intrusive phrase, a dark image, a memory, you tense. The shoulders climb, the breath thins, the gaze narrows to a pin. At that instant you announce, this is important, this can harm me, I must win. And in that confession, the picture multiplies, because your resistance is its platform. It feeds on your alarm. It borrows your energy, your attention, your belief, and grows strong on the very food you give it. Discipline, spiritual discipline, is not aggression. Aggression tries to conquer thought. Discipline refuses to crown it. Aggression meets a claim with a counterclaim, and so keeps the court in session. Discipline quietly dismisses the court because it recognizes no case has been filed under any real law. Be still and know I am God. That is not a battle cry. It is the return to government. It is the withdrawal of your authorization from appearances that have no life of their own. A claim is all it is, an appearance demanding recognition, knocking at your door with borrowed thunder. The work is not to destroy the thunder. The work is to see there is no law behind it, no authority issuing the warrant, no substance giving it breath. I must warn you, and I say it for your safety. Never undertake inner healing while you are armed. Put up thy sword. If you feel the inward push to fix, to argue, to smother, to outshout a sentence in your head, stop. You are not in the temple. You are on the field. And there is no healing on the field, because healing is the realization that there is no opposing power to heal from. All power is in the I that I am. When you feel the body clutch, the chest hardens, the jaw sets, the eyes dart, take that as your bell, not to manage, not to lecture the mind, but to yield. Sit back inside yourself a fraction of an inch. Loosen the belly. Let the air come and go without your help. Be still. You will ask, but if I do not answer the thought, does it not win? No, that is the lie that keeps you enlisted. The thought has no sword, no troops, no treasury. It has your fear, and that is all. Withdraw the fear, and you have removed its oxygen. This is not passivity. This is right government. You are not abandoning the classroom. You are returning to the teacher's chair. You are not ignoring the student. You are refusing to let the student seize the gavel. In that non-aggressive stillness, the mind that was shouting loses its stage, because the body, your faithful student, has sat down. The breath deepens, attention widens, the floor returns under the feet. And in that wideness, you will often find that what seemed a storm was only a picture projected on air. So let us make the method plain. When the claim knocks, acknowledge nothing. Recognize it as a claim, not a power. No law upholds you, sir. No life animates you. No authority sends you. Then, with no flourish, with no inner debate, turn from the door and resume stillness. If you must use words, let them be the words that undo the throne fear has built. Be still and know I am God. Do not hurl them as stones. Whisper them as you would to your own body. Student, be still. Patient, be still. Mind, be still. And in that compliance without combat, right government reappears, because it never left. Now then, the first instruction, and I must insist that you take it as law for this work. The very moment you notice the mind begin to churn, do not negotiate with it, do not parley, do not ask it why it has come. Pause, in place, in breath, in gaze, and inwardly say, slowly, be still. Not as if you were throwing a net over a wild animal, not as if you were hurling a stone at a window, but as the teacher calls the class to order and the room knows the voice. Be still and know I am God. Understand what I am giving you. Be still is not a charm to cast silence over noise. It is not an incantation by the thinker to subdue the thinker. It is authority, gentle, non-aggressive, unquestioned, spoken from I to the body-mind, to the student who has stood on the chair. We are not scolding the student. We are restoring the chairs to the floor. We are not bargaining with the class. We are resuming right government. So do not repeat the words like a drumbeat to drown out sound. Speak them once, twice, measured, with the weight of your own consent behind them, and then let them stand. Be still. Be still, and know I am God. At first, You may not enjoy this. You may not approve of it. You may say, "This is too simple for my complicated storm. This is childish." Good. Persist. The personal mind delights in labyrinths because they justify its employment. But the principle is simple, and therefore the method is simple. Do not judge your obedience by whether the thoughts stop. Your first victory is not a quiet mind. It is the refusal to fight and the willingness to be still. Each time you refrain from argument and return to that gentle authority, you withdraw the crown from fear and hand it back where it belongs. Now, for the discipline of micropauses. Several times during the day, no fewer than 3 or 4, return to stillness for 1 to 2 minutes. Do it upon waking, before the shoes are on. Do it at the threshold of sleep, when habit loves to review its cases. Do it at the first lift of the voice within, when you feel the inner debate clear its throat. Stop. Let the belly soften. Let the shoulders settle. Let the breath come and go without your ushering. Inwardly say, slowly, "Be still." Do not follow what rises. Do not correct it. Do not close the door on it. Simply stop standing in the doorway. Be still. Without any drama, without any promise to tempt you forward. I must tell you the truth of what occurs. The moment the body begins to be still, receptivity begins. The platform of noise is taken down, plank by plank. Something deeper than the personal mind, call it presence, call it the I that is, assumes government. You will not force it. You will not schedule it. You will not hire it. You will make room. Sometimes the only sign will be a softening in the chest, a widening of the room, the sense that you have stepped back a fraction of an inch and life is no longer being pressed from the front of your forehead. That is enough. Leave it there. Return again and again, until this first instruction is no longer something you perform, but the way you live. Put up thy sword. Be still, and know I am God. Now then, let us do the quiet work and make the student receptive. Do not hurry. Do not try to make anything happen. Sit as I, your real self, above the classroom, and let the words carry the weight of authority without force. Begin at the head. As if you were seated a little above the crown, look down through the scalp and the skull and all the delicate rooms of the brain, and say, not with intensity, but with certainty, "Be still. Be still and know I am God." Let 2 or 3 breaths pass without your ushering them, and allow the tissues to comply with the tone, not with your effort. Now the eyes, those faithful servants that have been straining to read every sign, look into the sockets from within and softly say, "Be still." The lids, the corners, the gaze that has been narrowed, be still. The jaw that clenches to win arguments, drop it half a hair's breadth and say, "Be still." The tongue, the throat, the back of the neck where habit grips, be still. If you feel yourself trying to press relaxation into the flesh, stop. That is the thinker at work again. This is not you making stillness. This is you witnessing stillness being established by I. Come to the shoulders, right and left, that wear the armor of yesterday and tomorrow. Look down through both at once, as if the bones and sinews were a hollow passage, and say, "Be still." Down through both arms at the same time, upper arms, elbows, forearms. Be still. Into the wrists and the backs of both hands. Be still. into the palms, each finger from root to tip, all 10 at once as if you were hearing a classroom settle. Be still and know I am God. Now into the chest. Do not seize the breath. Let the breath be breathed. Look into the ribs and the breastbone, around the heart's chamber. Not to manage a heartbeat, but to withdraw your command from it and say, be still. The diaphragm, the bellows that panic grabs, be still. Slip your attention along the spine from the base of the skull down between the shoulder blades, into the mid-back, the low back, each segment as a quiet corridor. Be still. Let the back of the body release the forward push of living from the forehead. We descend to the abdomen, where fear likes to rehearse. Look into the belly as if the whole bowl were spacious and friendly, and say, be still. The hips, the joints that tighten to run or fight. Be still. Down through both thighs together. Be still. Knees, front and back. Be still. Calves and shins. Be still. Ankles. Be still. The tops of the feet, the arches, the heels. Be still. All 10 toes, little students that love to curl. Be still and know I am God. Why do we do this? Because the body is the immediate stage on which fear dramatizes itself. The script looks like thoughts, yes, but the theater is breath and jaw and gut and gaze. When the body sits down, the shouting mind loses its platform. When the platform is gone, government has an opening. Isn't your body your patient? Isn't your body your student? And mustn't the teacher first be at peace to teach? So we are not subduing a rebel. We are returning the class to its order. Put up thy sword. Do not wage peace upon your own flesh. Do not strain. Let the authority be quiet and complete. Be still. Remain a moment at the feet, and then, without climbing back into the head to check results, feel the whole body as one room. From crown to soles, one room. Speak once more, not as a spell, but as the fact of your government. Be still and know I am God. And then, be the beholder. In that beholding, the student is receptive, the stage is cleared, and the inner presence, which needs no trumpet and makes no show, finds its rightful chair. Now then, there is a point. Do not force it, do not arrange it, at which the repetition of be still gives way to something else. At first, you are the one addressing. You take your seat as I, and you speak to the student, to the body-mind. Be still. You do this faithfully, gently, without weapon. And then, one day, not as a reward and not as a clocked event, there is a soft turning. Stillness seems to arrive of its own accord, as if a door you were not pushing quietly opened and a presence entered the room. You are no longer addressing. You are being addressed. Do not look for thunder. The sign of this is not blankness, not a trance, not some dramatic sensation. It is an assurance. It is the sense, very quiet, that you are not alone running your life from your forehead. The breath takes itself without your help. The room seems to widen without moving a wall, and inside, as if spoken without sound, there is word. Sometimes it is the ancient word we have used. Be still and know that I am God. But not as a phrase you sent outward. Rather, as something that dawns, is given, is heard. Sometimes it comes as, I am here. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Peace. And you do not put quotation marks around it. You do not pin it to a page. You rest under it, as under a hand that has always been there. I must caution you. Do not hunt this. Do not sit with a stopwatch waiting for whispers. The moment you begin to measure, you have shifted back to the thinker, and the student is again at the front of the room. Success here is not an occurrence. It is a yielding of government. If there is nothing but quiet breathing and an honest refusal to fight, that is success. If there is only the sense that you have taken one step backward from the edge of yourself, that is success. Be still and know I am God. You cannot use it as a formula. You must receive it as it comes to you. When you are addressed, do not answer back. Do not take dictation for your scrapbook. Do not try to freeze the moment. Simply be the beholder and let the governance occur. Sometimes the addressing continues into your errands, washing a dish, crossing a street, and you find you are accompanied, not managed from the head, accompanied from within. Decisions are less like choices and more like clearings that appear at your feet. This is the turning. Life begins to speak in you, and the old intimidation by thought fades because the government has been moved. Now, a word about secrecy and sincerity. Speak of this little, if at all. Do not perform it. Do not make a testimony of your tender beginnings. Prove it in the silence of your own consciousness over weeks and months until it constitutes you. Until you could not display it if you tried, because it is no longer an episode. It is your atmosphere. If you parade it, you will lose it. If you protect it, it will root. Keep the purpose of it secret. Let your devotion be without audience, and do not even tell yourself stories about it. Return to the simple willingness several times a day to put up thy sword, to be still, and to let the inner presence speak if it will, or to let silence itself be the speech. Then, instead of talking inwardly at life, you will find life talking within you. And that is the government we seek. Now then, when the noise returns, and it will, do not be surprised. Take this as your bell, not your condemnation. The protocol is precise and it is simple. Follow it without drama, without hurry, and without turning it into a contest. First, notice the thought as a claim. Name it correctly. A claim, an appearance knocking for consent. Second, do not analyze it. Do not ask, why this now? What does it mean? That is the student trying to hold the floor. Third, do not suppress it. Do not push it down with a positive phrase or close your eyes tighter and pretend it is not standing in the doorway. We do not gag students. We restore the teacher's chair. Fourth, return at once to the body with the tone you have learned. Be still. And for 30 to 90 seconds, no less, move quietly through the room of your body as we have practiced. Fifth, rest as awareness. Do not look back to see if the thought is saluting. Sit as I, the beholder, and let governance be re-established from within. Now hear me. The content of the thought is not your authority. It is not prophecy. It is not a command. It is air forming shapes that seem to talk. There is no power in form or effect. All power is in the I that I am. Therefore, when the phrase arrives with its old costume, threat, memory, unwanted image, receive it as no more than a messenger without seal. Quietly, inwardly, without sword, say, "Get thee behind me." not as a battle cry, but as a withdrawal of permission. You have no law here. And then, immediately, back to the body, to the shoulders, the jaw, the belly. Be still. Be still and know I am God. Why does this work? Because every time you do not engage, you starve the claim. You refuse it a throne. You do not provide your adrenaline as its royal robe. You do not assemble a court of analysis where it can plead its case. You simply do not grant it governance. And what has no governance in you cannot long perform a tyrant's play. The class sits down. The platform of panic is removed. The sound has no stage. In that quiet, the appearance dissolves into its native nothingness, not because you crushed it, but because you would not crown it. Do not think you have failed if you must do this 100 times in a morning. That is not failure. That is practice. Each non-response constitutes you a little more in the government of I. Each 30-second return to the body writes a new law into your nerves. Fear is not law here. The student will rise again and again to test the door. Your work is only to take your seat again and again. Be still and know, I am God. If, in the midst of the scan, the mind shouts, "Answer me!" do not. If it flatters, just one little analysis, do not. If it pleads, "Push me away harder," do not. Put up thy sword. Keep the time, 30 to 90 seconds, enough to let the shoulders come down, the breath be breathed, the gaze widen. Then sit as the beholder. That is all. You are training the whole of you to recognize true government. And remember, we do not undertake this to win debates with images. We undertake it to withdraw belief from any supposed power apart from I. Freedom is not achieved by winning arguments with thoughts, but by refusing to grant them authority. Return to the protocol as often as needed. Protect it in secrecy. Practice without show. And in time, not by your clock but by lived constitution, you will find that even when the knock comes, the house remains under quiet government, and the old intimidation is gone because you no longer grant the visitor a throne. Be still. Be still and know, I am God. Now then, let us come to the root, because unless you reach the root, you will be trimming branches forever. Beneath the clamoring of words and pictures, beneath the sudden heat of memory and the chilly draft of what if, there is a single belief that keeps the whole theater lit. There is a power apart from I. There is a power in yesterday's injury, in tomorrow's forecast, in chemistry and diagnosis, in trauma, in reputation, in the opinion seated across the table. And as long as you hold that belief, quietly, unconsciously, with a little bow in the heart, fear must serve as your usher, and you will rush to arrange chairs for every new arrival. Be still and know, I am God. Hear it clearly. The obsessive loop, the catastrophic image, the shame memory. These are claims, not laws. Appearances, not powers. They petition you for recognition. They do not arrive stamped by any authority. They enter, like actors, with costumes borrowed from yesterday. I am the past. I am your body's chemistry. I am what so-and-so thinks. No, they are claims only. If you grant them power, you must fight them. If you do not grant them power, you must not fight them. Put up thy sword. Do not hate the mind for bringing the mail. The postman is not the message. The message is not the law. Condemnation is only another claim wearing religious clothing. You should be beyond this by now, it murmurs. and then demands a war to prove you are. Refuse the trap. Be strict with yourself here, but without aggression. You will say, I see you, claim. I recognize that you have no law, no life, no authority. Get thee behind me, not as a blow, but as the quiet withdrawal of my consent. Then at once you return to the body, to the shoulders, the jaw, the belly. Be still, and you let government be restored from within. The cure is not a stronger set of counter-thoughts. The cure is spiritual dominion. There is no power in form or effect. All power is in the I that I am. Therefore, thought cannot be cause. It cannot be law. It cannot be governor. It can only present a case and wait to see if you will open court. If you do not convene the court, there is no verdict to fear. If you do not appoint the thought as sheriff, there is no arrest to dread. Be still and know I am God. And the fruit? Not that you become a perfect thinker. Not that the mind never rehearses a scene or throws a picture on the screen again. The fruit is that you are no longer persuadable by fear. The student may clear his throat. The class does not rise. The image may pass. The screen is untouched. Decisions are not made by panic's timetable. They are given in quiet from within. You find yourself living less from the front of your forehead and more from the center that neither hurries nor pleads. The mind can talk, yes, but it does not rule. This is the deeper healing, the withdrawal of belief from any power apart from I. And in that withdrawal, fear loses root, because the soil that fed it, your faith in another power, is gone. Be still. Be still and know I am God. Now then, I must set a law for you, and I ask you to accept it before we go on. Give this not less than 3 to 4 months of faithful, daily practice before you render any verdict. Do not sample this for a weekend, then write a review of God. No, we are not tourists here. We are being reconstituted. Knowing the correct letter of truth is only a step. Unless you practice the truth you know until it becomes the very tone of your nerves and breath, you will have a theory without authority. Be still and know I am God. Your minimum schedule, and I mean minimum, is this. Each day, one longer period of stillness. Begin with 20 to 40 minutes. Some of you will be led to more. Do not force it, but do not cheat it. Sit as we have learned. I, the beholder, addressing the student gently through the body, head to feet. Be still. Then rest as awareness without looking for results. In addition, return to this work for 5 minutes several times during the day, no less than 3, preferably 4 or 5. Upon waking, before sleep, and at 2 or 3 ordinary thresholds, a doorway, a desk, a parked car, stop, soften, scan. Be still and know I am God. These are not interludes to escape life. These are the hinges on which your day swings under right government. Expect the progression to be simple and unspectacular. First, the work will feel mechanical. Words spoken by you to you. Good. Then the body begins to comply. The jaw, the belly, the breath sit down. This bodily receptivity removes the platform from panic. Next, a wider quiet appears, not imposed, found. In time, you will notice that, under stress, the remembrance arrives of itself. The hand goes to the belly, the shoulders release. Be still arises unbidden. And then, without trumpet or schedule, the addressing turns, and you are addressed. Do not hurry this. Do not market it. Put up thy sword. I must warn you, do not make a project of yourself. You are not using God for a purpose. You are yielding to God's government. Outcomes are fruit. They are not demands. If you notice yourself bargaining, if I do 30 minutes, will you stop this thought? Stop. Return to the first obedience. Be still. Let the presence govern. Let effects take care of themselves. All worship done in public, even the public of your own pride, loses its weight. Keep the purpose of it secret. For accountability, not for display. Keep a private record. A small card, a quiet note on your calendar. Mark only the date and the hour when the peace of God descended, whether for a breath or a stretch. Add nothing eloquent. Once a week, review not your successes, but your reactions. Where did you refrain from argument more quickly? Where did the hand go to the belly before the mind drew its sword? This is how you will know consciousness is being constituted, by the quiet changes in your responses when no one is watching. Hard work? Yes, at first, because you are clarifying your thought and training your body to recognize its true governor. But hear me. Stillness becomes power only through steady practice, until it is no longer something you do, but what you live. Be faithful for 3 to 4 months. Honor the minimums without drama. Protect the secrecy. Put up thy sword. Several times a day, and once with depth, be still and know, I am God. And one morning you will discover you did not begin the practice. The practice began you. Now then, let us close this rightly. We have seen the exhaustion of mind management. It was war because fear tried to govern fear. We have learned that there are, for the purpose of practice, 2 of you. The thinker who clamors, and the eye that beholds, and therefore may be governed from within. We have put up the sword. We have refused to make thought a battlefield. We have trained the student, the body, to sit down gently, jaw, shoulders, belly, breath, and we have watched the platform of panic be removed. We have remained with the simple work until, here and there, the addressing turned, and we were addressed. And when the intruder knocked, we did not debate. We withdrew permission, returned to the body, and let the presence re-establish government. All of this has had one purpose: to end our belief in a power apart from I, and to let I be the law of our being. Hear me now. You are not a person attempting to become spiritual. You are the I expressing as a person. Therefore, government is already within you. It does not have to be imported, only uncovered by your refusal to rule by thought. This is not philosophy for your scrapbook. It is the constitution of your life. You will not prove it by argument. You will prove it by non-aggressive, secret obedience, day after day, until it becomes the atmosphere in which you live. Keep the watchword before you, not as slogan, as return point. Be still. Be still. Be still and know that I am God. You cannot use it as a trick. You cannot wield it like a club at your own mind. Speak it as authority without aggression, and then be the beholder. Put up thy sword. Refuse to crown appearances. Get thee behind me, not shouted, but as quiet withdrawal of consent. And then, be still. I must ask you, do not teach this as a device. Do not display it. Keep the purpose of it secret. Prove it first in your own consciousness from months, not minutes. Let the fruit be your only testimony. softer reactions, fewer debates. A life that moves from within instead of being tugged from the forehead. If you parade it, you will lose it. If you protect it, it will root. And now the sending. The next time the mind will not cooperate, tonight, tomorrow morning, do not bargain with it. Do not ask for terms. Stop. Let the belly soften. Let the jaw release. Let the breath be breathed. For 30 to 90 seconds, quietly scan as we have practiced, from crown to soles. Be still, and then sit back one fraction into the eye that beholds. Do not check results. Do not reopen court. Let the presence take the chair and govern. Several times a day, without drama, return to this. Your life is healed in the measure that you stop ruling by thought and surrender to the inner presence that governs in stillness. Be still and know I am God. Be still and know I am. Be still.